In a small, forgotten village surrounded by dusty roads and silent mountains, lived a young girl named Amina. The village was the kind of place where time moved slowly, opportunities were rare, and dreams were considered a luxury no one could afford. For generations, people lived the same lives their parents and grandparents had lived, working from sunrise to sunset, struggling to survive, never daring to imagine more. But Amina was different. From the time she was a child, she felt a fire inside her. A quiet but powerful belief that life must hold something greater than what she saw around her. She wanted to explore, to learn, to grow, to see the world beyond the cracked mud walls of her home. Yet the world around her constantly reminded her of the limits placed on her life. Her mother worked as a seamstress, stitching clothes for wealthier families in nearby towns, while her father, once a strong man, had fallen ill and could barely walk. Their small house was filled with warmth and love, but not with money. Amina knew that her parents did everything they could to keep the family afloat, yet poverty remained their closest companion. At school, Amina was always the quietest student, not because she was shy, but because she carried responsibilities far heavier than her age. She often arrived late, sometimes without breakfast, and sometimes with her mother's worry still clinging to her clothes. But no matter how tired she was, she always opened her books with determination. Education, she believed, was her only key to unlocking a future she had never seen but always felt deep in her heart. Every night after finishing her chores, she would sit by the dim light of a lantern and read her worn-out textbooks, imagining herself in places she had only seen in the illustrations. Clean cities, large libraries, shining universities, places where people dreamed big and lived even bigger. But dreams, especially big ones, attract resistance. One day, when Amina was only 14, her relatives came to speak with her parents. They said things like, "It's time to think about her future, and girls don't need so much education," and the words that struck Amina's heart like a cold blade. "We know a good family willing to marry her." Marriage. At 14, Amina felt the ground beneath her tremble. The freedom she had fought for, even inside her mind, now seemed threatened. Her parents were silent. They were loving and gentle people, but poverty had a way of making choices for you. That night, Amina cried silently on her small bed. She wondered why life was so unfair, why opportunities were given to some and denied to others. But as her tears dried, something changed inside her. She felt an anger, a strength, a clarity she had never felt before. "If I don't fight for myself," she whispered into the darkness, "no one will fight for me." The next morning, she made a decision that would change the course of her life. The first act of courage. Before sunrise, she packed her school bag, not with books but with courage. She walked to her school principal's office, an old building with rusty windows but a kind-hearted man inside. When she stood before him, trembling but determined, she said, "Sir, I want to study. I don't want to get married. Please help me." The principal, Mr. Rahim, listened carefully. He had seen talent in many children over the years, but none had the burning determination Amina carried in her eyes that morning. He knew the cultural, social, and financial pressures she faced, yet he also knew that sometimes, all someone needed was one person to believe in them. He made a phone call, one that would eventually rewrite Amina's destiny. There was an educational foundation in the city that offered scholarships to promising students, especially girls from rural areas. After reviewing her grades, her essays, and a heartfelt letter she wrote about her dreams, the foundation granted her a full scholarship. School fees, books, uniform, everything. When her parents received the news, they were overwhelmed. They had never imagined such a miracle was possible. And in that moment, they realized that their daughter's dream was not a childish fantasy. It was a real, living future calling her forward. They canceled all marriage discussions and gave Amina their blessing. The journey begins. The next few years were the hardest and the most beautiful of Amina's life. She woke before dawn, walked miles to school, studied late into the night, helped her parents at home, and still found time to tutor younger children to earn a small income. She faced criticism from neighbors who believed girls should remain quiet and obedient. She endured whispers, judgment, and isolation. But she also felt something she had never felt before: purpose. She won academic awards, participated in science fairs, and even wrote articles for the local newspaper under a pen name. Her world was expanding one step at a time. Yet, progress often invites challenges. When she was 16, her father's illness worsened. Medical bills grew. Her mother's sewing work was no longer enough. Amina feared her dreams were slipping from her hands once again. But instead of giving up, she adapted. She convinced her school to let her clean classrooms in exchange for a small monthly stipend. She taught children in the evenings, sometimes under a tree, sometimes in a neighbor's courtyard. She saved every rupee she earned, always telling herself, One day I will rise. One day I will change everything. A new world. After years of struggle, sacrifice, and relentless effort, Amina completed high school with top marks in the entire district. Her achievement attracted attention, not just from her village, but from scholars and organizations in the city. She was offered a place at a prestigious university. The moment she stepped onto the university campus, she felt like she had entered another universe. Tall buildings, modern classrooms, bright hallways filled with students from different backgrounds. It was everything she had once imagined while reading by lantern light. But the transition was not easy. She felt small, invisible, and out of place among students who spoke fluent English, wore expensive clothes, and had grown up with opportunities she could only dream of. There were moments she cried alone in the library bathroom. Moments she doubted herself. Moments she felt the weight of her past pulling her backward. But she reminded herself of one truth. She had not made it this far to stop here. So she worked even harder. She improved her English by listening to online lectures late at night. She participated in workshops, joined study groups, and slowly her confidence grew. Her professors recognized her brilliance, her dedication, her hunger to learn. Within 2 years, she became one of the top students in her department. The breakthrough. During her final year, Amina created a research project focused on improving education for girls in rural areas. She analyzed social barriers, financial constraints, and cultural challenges, proposing sustainable solutions that could transform thousands of lives. Her project won a national award. Suddenly, newspapers wanted to interview her. Organizations invited her to speak at conferences. Her name became a symbol of hope, not just for her village, but for countless girls across the country. And then came the biggest moment of her life. She received a fully funded scholarship to pursue her master's degree abroad. When she told her parents, her mother cried, holding her tightly, remembering the little girl who once studied under a lantern. Her father, weak but proud, looked at her with tears shining in his tired eyes and whispered, "You changed your destiny, my child, and ours too." Return of the warrior. Years later, Amina returned to her country, not as a struggling girl, but as a successful, educated, confident woman. She founded an organization dedicated to empowering girls from underprivileged communities, providing scholarships, mentorships, and opportunities she once needed herself. She stood on stages across the world, telling her story, not to gain fame, but to show others that no matter where you come from, no matter how dark the night, the dawn is always possible for those who refuse to surrender. Her village, once